You ever seen the Roger Rabbit?
Hey.
Spit off with it. It's bullshit.
Okay, so welcome to a new episode of Unequal Opinions, where we are here to get James to stop looking at movies that he hasn't seen before and come back.
It's y'all fucking fault, man.
And focus on a TV series that we forced him to watch and that he thoroughly enjoyed.
You didn't force me to watch.
We had to force you to watch.
You were bullied.
You did not.
You were bullied into watching.
You were bullied.
Fam, no, you weren't.
Yeah.
Y'all are not my only friends. My other friends told me to watch it.
Look, your word association with Marlon Brando is Superman. We forced you to do this.
We're two of your more importance. I didn't say the most, but you know.
I'm gonna let K-Dot get his rocks off. Go ahead, sir.
I mean, we should be your most influential. If that's not the case, we need to be.
No, you're not. And you never will be, bro. We boys, but you ain't there. Nobody's there.
I know. Just
rearrange it. I got one person there.
Okay, see, that's different. I was finna say you got other, like we fire.
Oh yeah, I know y'all are.
We fire. But
yeah, I don't know.
I have homework to do for movies. And it's cool.
Right.
Like, I like that little segment. Y'all quizzed me and I fucking failed. It is what it is.
Okay. So
I couldn't give that a grade.
I finished. I just didn't get anything right.
Right,
I want to start with James. In terms of We Own This City. You've seen The Wire, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because I was gonna leave.
I'm not sure if he has. Can I say that?
All right, you know what? I'm gonna leave. How about that? Y'all can
don't be like that, please.
Yeah, because I'm tired of disrespect. I ain't got time for this shit.
It's not really.
All right, I did a lot to be here.
It's really an understanding of our friend. It's really that, you know.
I just want to get it.
But
one more time, K-Dot. I'm clicking the end button.
Fine. I'm not engaging you at all.
If he click it, I'm gonna click it. I'm not coming back. All right. So I just want you to put it into context, what your thoughts were about We Own This City.
All right. So of course it was a great fucking series, right? But it was based on true events. And I know one of us on this pod actually lives in Baltimore at this time, but when I was in college, I have a lot of friends who are from Baltimore. I'm not putting everybody's business out there.
No, the cop's not on the pod. We're good.
Huh?
Nothing. This is so weird. This is gonna be a weird pod.
This is not weird. This is perfect.
I just said one of us lives in Baltimore. I'm not saying who it is.
I live in Baltimore.
What the fuck? Like, literally, like last week, you're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna say where the."
You were gonna bring a cop on.
Yeah, and he's still gonna watch this shit.
All right, we're here now.
All right, and it's your fault.
Fine. I'll take responsibility.
Okay, cool. So, I know a lot of people. Like half of my friends in college are from Baltimore because I went to University of Maryland, and one of my best friends is from West Baltimore. So he's seen a lot of this shit. And then his best buddy, who I met through him, is now a Baltimore police officer because he wanted to change shit from the inside, which you see certain people in this series portray. And thank God he didn't go the same route as All right. I have to say, like, some of the stories from the series I did not know. Right? Like, I didn't know that one of the cops offed himself. Like, that was kind of crazy. And at the same time, I was like, clearly that was not going to work. Like, can't shoot yourself in the head, then toss the gun. Like, without your fingerprint, whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely going to watch it again. And then I'm also going to go back through The Wire again, because why not? After I watch these list of 20 fucking movies that I need to see.
For a list of 150 more.
I do a Wire rewatch. I feel like every 6 months.
I'm in at least once a year. I've gone as far as 4 in a year. I've gone as little as once, but it's at least once a year.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
I love that.
Not because I'm saying I can't. I'm not saying that I can't do it because I don't think the show is amazing, which it is. It's just I have so much other shit to watch, like sports wise. Like y'all don't watch y'all don't
as much.
I know I do. Like you don't watch soccer.
No.
Yeah, like that shit is basically all year round. Like when it comes to fucking like November this year, you're not
World Cup, baby. World Cup.
Like
we in here.
Fam,
you know about it.
Look, it's only gonna be
I'm
Raiders and
rewatching
World
The Wire.
Cup. Like don't fucking ask me nothing about no other team. I don't give a shit what the Eagles are doing. I don't care how bad the Washington Commanders are. I'm watching the World Cup and the Raiders.
I was gonna say you don't care how bad the shitty Raiders are. He was like, nah, I'll give them.
The Raiders are good. The Raiders are good.
We'll see.
Be too early to care about the Mavericks?
Huh?
Too early to care about the Mavericks?
I seen the video of Luka doing defensive drills, which
all right, God, never mind. Let's get away from sports because
less of that. But you see what I'm saying? Like that's kind of where I am. So yeah,
watch more movies.
King. Go ahead, King. You were talking about your thoughts on the series.
Yeah. So in terms of comparing it to The Wire and stuff like that, it felt too close to it, even though it's it has nothing to do with The Wire. Nothing to do with The Wire. But it's just because you see the same actors show up and you're like, hey,
a lot older.
He was in line half of the cast.
Hey, Dookie's 42 playing a West Side Cop.
It was great. It was great. But yeah, and that was kind of funny to see. But as in terms of being a limited series, this is everything you expect from a limited series. It was really good. Told a true story about stuff that happened in Baltimore, and it gives you a side to it that I don't think we consider a lot. And that being the side of I guess the system being able to do its job essentially pretty much well, and in terms of cooperation with witnesses and the judge system and judges trusting the cops that bring them cases and stuff like that, right? And so it's just we don't really ever get to see it from that side. I thought that was a fresh perspective that The Wire didn't really completely touch on, kind of in the way that We Own the City did, but it was a really good series. John Bernthal, fucking great. Fucking great. The black woman, I don't want to butcher her name, so I'm not going to say it. But she was
Masaku.
Masaku.
I think it's
Masaku. She was fucking great. She was in Loki. Loved her in Loki. She was in Lovecraft Country. She was great in that. I'm a big fan, and I'm rooting for her, and I'll watch pretty much anything she's in. Thought she did a great job. I really enjoyed the cast in as a whole. It just sucks that this is based on a true story, because this is real. This is real. It's hey, they depicted it pretty true to how I feel like people view cops, how cops that I've dealt with, and it's insane. But yeah, that's how I felt about it.
And I know John Shooter's family was pissed off about the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, about the series.
Yeah. So I live in Baltimore. I've lived in Baltimore for a few years now. When I first actually moved over here, and I was a Lyft driver, I left my job at Geico. I came up here and I was a Lyft driver, and drive around a lot of Baltimore. And so over the summer, there were too many guys inside the jails that they actually were saying all nonviolent offenders they were going to release to the streets. Started talking to other Lyft drivers and Uber drivers who were like, yeah, it's not really the time to be a Lyft driver at night. So I left to start driving down in DC during the night. But the city was kind of off the chain. But the thing is that I've had ties to Baltimore ever since high school. I first moved up here junior year of high school and been kind of back and forth in and out of this city, which I also think is the weirdest city in America. Also one of the coolest fucking cities in America. It's a weird place. But one of the first things I did when I was driving for Lyft is one day I had a assistant for a state senator I was giving a ride to. And we were talking and we started talking about what was happening after the Freddie Gray riots and how Baltimore was kind of still rebounding off of this. This is 2018. I had this conversation. So he asked me, hey, we're doing ride-alongs. And we'd love for you to be a part of the program. Coming around, I was like, hell yeah. Sign up for the Western District because I'd watched enough Wire. I knew McNulty, and I'm like, I'm going to the Western first and foremost. And I did 2 ride-alongs with the Western, one with the Southeast, and then one with the Eastern District. I've done a few ride-alongs here in Baltimore. And this series nails it. Man, he nails it. And that this is where we get to the writers as far as David Simon and George Pelacanos. Well, I always think George Pelacanos gets overlooked. From DC, did his rough and tumble shit. Was I mean, if you look at George Pelacanos' story, it was in a high speed chase with drugs in his car at 28 years old. It kind of modeled the way that he looks at a lot of things as far as the police, especially in this area. But We Own This City, I thought was those guys finally figuring out the right bat. When I say finally figured out, The Wire is perfection, right? But to me, when I'm looking at We Own the City, the only reason that it's not at the same sort of level that I look at with The Wire is that we haven't had this much time with it. But Lord knows if they had 5 more seasons of this show to go off of, it would be not 1, but 2 of the greatest TV shows of all time. They would have had a double whammy. And I think that's just the way that they kind of put this together. Look, they've not, if I look at both of those guys, they've never really put out shit content. I think the worst of any of them is probably Pelicanos with the show Bosch. I'm not fucking watching it. Outside of that, you look at Treme, you look at The Deuce, you look at all these other shows that Homicide: Life on the Streets, if you really want to go back, most underrated cop show maybe of all time. If you haven't watched Homicide, you can find it online. It's well worth fucking going into. It's just, it feels as though they figured out a way to be more succinct in their storytelling, to kind of just get to the point, to not leave anything in any sort of gray or murky territory. Not to mention, if you're looking at Baltimore and the way the police have acted, a lot has changed since the days of The Wire compared to when it is this show takes place. A lot has changed. And what has happened to the police department has absolutely gotten worse over that period of time. So when you're looking, when The Wire first came on the air is what, 2001, 2002? It's 20 years ago. The police department has vastly been different. And especially when you're looking at this show that really kind of looks at what it is the police department was doing in the shadow of the before and after cascading shadow of the Freddie Gray riots. They hit it out of the park. I mean, the acting, superb. They always find this great mix of like either underutilized talent or this authenticity as far as Baltimore. Like John Bernthal is from the area. You can kind of sense it on him, right? Josh Charles looks like he should be from the area if he's not, and I actually think he's a local cat. They just nailed on all those terms. Like it just felt so lived in. And I know that most of these characters, except for Masaku's character, are all based on real people. She's the only one that's a composite. So it was kind of easy for them to line up and just do that authentically. But all the actors they chose, even now the Bell's bondsman, that motherfucker, it just feels so authentically Baltimore. And it was perfect as far as the length of this miniseries. And I think that's what hurts the most, is they kind of nailed it, but I just want more. I'm kind of pissed that I don't have more.
I think, and I will say
the accents were off too, by the way.
Who?
Some of the accents.
I didn't see any accents.
No, I think they did. I think what, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were saying like everybody didn't have an accent, and I think that was perfect.
That's what I meant.
Intentional.
Yeah,
like, everybody
that's
wasn't
Baltimore.
intended to. Yeah.
Nobody walks around here. Not everyone walks around here saying do or do and all that kind of that fucking weird ass shit.
No, but it's always the whatever.
No, I get what you're saying.
Niggas still wear extra long white tees down here, okay? It's a different place.
Hey, fam.
Have y'all seen what the Thugs do? Have y'all listened to Baltimore club music?
Yes.
No.
Yes. I've had battles about club versus go-go.
Nigga,
So,
if you ain't never seen a motherfucker like really going ham at a SpongeBob SquarePants remix with a gun falling out of the waistband.
You remember Crazy Legs?
Dog, come on. Baltimore's a weird fucking town. Love this place. It's a weird town. It is singular. There's No place like this place. Okay.
Fam, it's like you got people that will fucking like shoot a baby, but then you see them just dancing in the club like they're having a good old time. Shit's crazy.
It's a wild town. It's a wild town. But I think that, I mean, did you have certain topics that you wanted to hit, Keem, at all?
No, not necessarily. Just wanted to kind of cover it. Just in the sense of, I thought it was a really good series. It really gave me the Wire vibes, but differently. And obviously it's a limited series, so it felt different. It hit different. But just seeing like I feel like John Bernthal is one of those guys for me. Like I thoroughly enjoyed him. I thought he was great in King Richard. Like seeing him get to play like against type, pretty much. He kind of plays. Punisher.
And shout out, as you say, King Richard. Shout out to Ronaldo Marcus Green, who directed King Richard and also directed every episode of the series.
Right, very much so. And so so I just wanted to kind of talk about We Own the City in perspective, see what you guys thought. I mean, I know you guys are a little bit more local than I am, so
and that's, I think I want to hit that a little bit. Is that I don't think people can understand the magnitude of the importance of this show at the time that it's come out, and the conversations that need to happen, especially in the shadow of what happened to Uvalde, Texas, which is we're a couple weeks away from what happened with the massacre down there. And a lot of people kind of scoping on all political spectrums, kind of where law enforcement, police kind of play a role in society. And that's something that if you have actually paid attention to The Wire, David Simon and George Pelacanos have been banging the drum on for a very long time as far as the problems within the system. But I think what they did in The Wire was they were so subtle with it. And they didn't leave any room to be subtle. I mean, majority of the conversations that happen in this series that are happening between the FBI agents, the DOJ and the officers, those are just transcripts that they're reading. Those are actually exactly what was happening in those conversations, word for word. Right. It was over the top. It was crazy. I think people that don't understand, like you can be from anywhere around there, but Baltimore itself and the way the police have kind of woven themselves in the fabric of the community in the wrongest ways is fairly unique compared to any other town. Whereas like New York, how many tens of thousands of cops are there in New York? They almost feel like an occupying army, right? The LAPD feel like a gang. There's so many of them. But Baltimore just feels like the street criminals decided instead of going to the street to earn a buck, I can put on a uniform and make it overtime and also stealing from other dudes on the corner. It's just woven into this fabric, right? And seeing all the problems that just exist within the police. Like systematically, this place has been fucked up. And you see little pieces of this all over the country. But in Baltimore, do you see all of it kind of come together? You guys have each gotten a jury duty summons at some point, right? Eli?
I haven't.
You haven't? James, have you ever gotten a summons for jury duty?
Don't remember, but probably did.
Probably a good way to answer that.
Yep.
In Baltimore, when you get a summons for jury duty, they send like 4 follow-ups kind of threatening you to go. The reason being, as you see in the show, they can't find untainted jurors. Yeah. Out of 100, they might find 6 or 7 that haven't had terrible influence with the cops. I remember at 15, when I was 15, our washer and dryer broke in our house. We had to go to Walbrook Junction. All Baltimore heads know what I'm talking about. There's a laundromat at Walbrook Junction. We were in there, and there's a Rite Aid. I think it's a Rite Aid at the corner, and I was like, I'm going to walk over to the Rite Aid. As I walk over to the Rite Aid, jump out boys come, all unmarked police cars, white boys, black dudes in the with their vests showing, and one of them threw my black ass up against the brick wall. And I looked scared shitless, and that's the only thing to save my ass was how scared I looked. They knew I wasn't out there. And what are you doing? I'm trying to go to the Friday. Nigga, get the fuck out of it. And they basically kicked me on the ass and told me to get the fuck out. And I remember not telling my parents because I'd be afraid if my parents started making a big stink out of it because I know what Baltimore police were going to do. They were going to start harassing me. They might start harassing my parents. They were doing all this kind of shit. It was just grimy. Always felt grimy in Baltimore. And when you hear about the cops and like I do the ride-alongs, you hear about all the shit that goes on as far as the police department itself and how motherfuckers are already approved basically for 40 hours of overtime because there's a cop shortage. And nobody should be working that many hours of overtime just from a standpoint of, I I don't know if anybody should be able to carry a badge and a gun driving around the cities of Baltimore just from a tired standpoint, a fatigue standpoint.
And stress.
And stress, right? It's broken to its core. And I think what we on the city looks is that they're saying that, like, look, it's not one or two guys. It's not that, it's a systemic thing. Law enforcement in this country has lost its way. And I think that's what this show highlights. The war on drugs was a fucking failure. It's a fucking failure that still exists. It's not helping anything. More cops are not helping anything. Hiring guys to just drive around in patrol cars instead of getting dudes that, like in the show Sean Suter, that actually move up the ranks to become homicide detectives, to do certain things that actually make a difference in the community. But even when they get to that level, as you see in one of the scenes that I thought was one of the most powerful scenes in the show, when the older black guy at the crime scene tells Sean, yeah, you homicide now, but what were you before that? What are all the steps you had to go through, and how many people did you probably hurt on your way to get the homicide?
And that's why I don't trust.
You're not clean. None of y'all are clean. And that's the thing that resonates in this city, is that everybody's kind of fair game unless you're a tax-paying citizen. That's it. Everybody else is in the game, from the cops to everybody on the track. It's all part of the game. And the game's just ruthless out this motherfucker.
That's the aspect that I would say I appreciated that they touched on, that The Wire does too, which is the cyclicalness of it. Like it's just all happens in the circle. Like when she says in the end, like when her mentee asked her, like, why are you giving up or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, thought you didn't care about it. And she was like, it's just your turn, motherfucker. And that's literally it. It's literally it. And that's the theme for the dope boy on the corner, the innocent man on the corner, the cop that's gonna arrest him, the young cop that sees him doing what he's doing, and then the lawyer that tries to arrest that cop, and then the defense attorney who has to deal with that cop. It's just your turn, motherfucker.
It's everybody's turn to keep the hamster wheel going and to make a buck in the process, because that's all we're ever trying to do.
But
right?
People don't come into it thinking that. And then that's where I should have brought this up on the Kendrick pod that we just did. But one of the main lines in the album that I remember was, he said, heroes look into the villains for help. And that's kind of what I feel sometimes when, like, people are, what they say, like green-eyed and bushy-tailed, or whatever the fuck the saying is.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. They go into it, they look, and they're like, oh yeah, like, help me. Like, I want to make a difference. But then they're talking to the people that are the corrupt ones and learning from them. And you saw a couple examples of those.
Yep.
Yeah, for every Wade Jenkins there's a K-stop. Right? There are the guys that really do want to make a difference. Majority of the cops that I run into in Baltimore legitimately want to make a difference. And I think another telling scene in the show is when Wayne is talking to the guys at the club, and he's trying to convince them that he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm not bad. I'm not what he saw, like, and
he's trying to convince himself.
I'm not dirty.
I'm not dirty, right? And I think he believes it to a certain degree.
Yeah. He definitely did.
He definitely believes it.
Like, you saw he didn't snitch.
Right.
He's like, we're gonna hold the line.
But that's the thing. The microcosm, like Wayne Jenkins, like the day of the Freddie Gray riots, you could see that. I love the way it was shot in the show. Wayne does some heroic shit that day. Mm-hmm. He does. From almost like a movie character level, him riding around the van, even though he's going a little too fast, showing up and being there for his guys. There is something kind of heroic about what he was doing, right? But then you also see that that's in such a small microcosm as far as his little world. When you see the conflict on, like, a lot of the black officers' faces who know it's not that simple, where you see kind of, you look through them and you see this kind of pain on their face. You see some of them just like, why are we even here? Like, what's the fucking point of this? And you see him do kind of, he's a fairly good cop that day, other than when he was antagonizing the protesters. And then before it all ends, where you could have looked at and say, a net positive day, Wayne, he goes to the fucking CVS and robs them for all the fucking drugs. Like, that's Wayne Jenkins, right? But it's all of them just trying to make a buck. And I think that's what it is. Like, that buys you loyalty. I mean, if I'm anywhere and somebody's trying to line my pockets with more money than I haven't seen, I'm probably, you're probably going to get tainted, especially in this city where it's so hard to come for a buck. This, more than anything, this is a fucking city of hustlers. You have to be able to hustle to survive here in Baltimore. You got to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give a fuck what you, from the squeegee boys all the way up to the fucking real estate developers. This is a town of hustling. It will eat you the fuck alive if you ain't ready to be out here and hustle. I don't care what your hustle is. I don't care what shade of color you are. You better be able to do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I had a question for you guys, because I know that you guys haven't necessarily been up on the same conversation I have been. But the two-parter. One is something that James said early on that's going to piss off a bunch of people that actually watch this.
Oh,
which is the way that they handled the end. So the Sean Suiter death in a lot of circles here in Baltimore is under no circumstances looked upon as a suicide. The Baltimore Police Department found it to be a homicide. An independent investigation deemed it to be a suicide. Baltimore deeming it a homicide, I think, allowed his family to be able to cash in on his life insurance. Even if that's not quite what happened. But even when I talked to my dad after watching We Own the City, the first thing that said out of his mouth, he's like, they went with that bullshit ass fucking stupid ending. Mm-hmm. A lot of people pissed off here. Because, I mean, you're talking about a police department that nobody trusts.
Yeah. And
you're talking about a dude that was a day away from testifying. It's kind of ingrained in here that, yeah, they don't buy the story about what it is. And Sonia Son, who plays Kimmy Greggs in The Wire, actually has a documentary, if you haven't seen it, about Sean Suiter and the Gun Trace Task Force. But did you guys know a lot about the Sean Suiter story or about the Gun Trace Task Force going into this? Do you guys know about it now?
No. When I saw this, I was like, oh, I kind of remember this story. Because this happened like when I was working at a newspaper. So I was like, oh, I kind of remember like putting this in the paper or something like that. But yeah, I don't know a lot about it. I still haven't looked into it. Like I said, I was going to, but it was just seeing that, it was just like, damn, like from my perspective, like at the time when I was watching this, like, damn, that's how the system fucks you up. Like he was a guy who didn't have really anything to do with this. And here he goes. Like, that's just his life. Like, even if it, like hearing you now saying like that might not have been the case. Like he might have just been executed, which just as believable. two equally sad endings. It's the same kind of, I feel the same kind of sadness, because either way, it's like either he felt bad enough, he was so worried what would happen, he killed himself, or somebody killed him because of that. It's like, either way, it's fucking shit, man.
And for it to be portrayed one way, like, ugh.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Like, for example, the guy that like his partner, or the guy that was with him that day,
Bamenko.
Yeah, like, what do we know about him? Like, he could have been involved.
Actually, the show did a pretty good job showing. There's a bit of when he first comes on the screen that you're kind of unsure of this guy. Like, who the fuck is this dude? And like, there's kind of this weirdness about him. And even afterwards, when he's answered the questions, and kind of out of it, you're not entirely sure if he's like putting on an act or whatever. I thought it was really, really interesting done. But I mean, David Simon and George Pelacanos, I think a lot of people are saying that they left it ambiguous because of the text that they left at the end. But I don't think they left any ambiguity at all. Like we see in the show, he kills himself.
Yeah.
But I think for me is knowing that and knowing Baltimore, I think the saddest part about it is that I've read the investigation. I've read what I could of the independent investigation. I've heard and saw the evidence. There's actually a ring camera, or a camera that was on somebody's shoulder, where you can see down the road and see him kind of pacing back and forth. The story makes sense that he killed himself, period. But I think the heartbreak of it is that even if that's true, the nature of trust between the people in this city and the police department is so fucking fractured that it wouldn't matter. There's nothing the cops could ever produce to make them be trusted in this town.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that I think is so sad about it, is that Sean Suiter at the end of the day is a sympathetic figure in a lot of ways. He's also a guy that saw what Wayne Jenkins was doing and didn't say anything about it.
Yep, and participated
in it. So there's that dichotomy of like, yeah, I get it. And look, if I was in your shoes, I'd like to think I would do what K-Stop was doing. I'd like to think I'm that guy. But do I really know in my heart of hearts that I wouldn't have taken the money?
But that's different. They were put in two completely different situations.
I get that.
Like K-Stop, they asked him, right? But with Sean, it's happening now. And it's like, this is what we're doing.
Well, Sean has multiple situations. So Sean takes the money during the car wash.
I'm just only thinking about the time when they were in that
the car wash.
The car wash. That's the only time. All
right, but what about the high-speed chase that ended in the death of the elderly black man, in which we know he flipped the car and there's nothing there, and now all of a sudden it's on the passenger seat, and that doesn't raise a red flag?
Yeah,
I'm just saying none of these guys are clean.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the moment that he even showed that he might have been on the other side of it, might have been trying to help it, is the moment he kind of gets smoked out, which kind of going back to The Wire, which is that anytime anybody ever tried to buck the system in The Wire, what ended up happening? They could put right the fuck back in place. The machine continues. So that's the thing is, like, even if you try to take that stand, does anything really happen? Right.
Yep.
But because of that, because of the way that they took that ending and because of how distrustful I think a lot of people in Baltimore are, David Simon, who's very active on Twitter. If you guys don't follow him, he's a must follow. He doesn't shy away from shit. But they have been coming for his head because of the fact that he portrayed it as a suicide. But not only that, there's been a conversation that's been growing out of it, which I wanted to see what you guys thought about this. Is it okay for white writers and screenwriters to profit off of the pain of black people?
They've been doing that forever.
Is it okay? Should we celebrate David Simon or George Pelacanos in that way in which their pockets are getting lined with the stories, and in this case, the very true story of what happened to a lot of black people in the city of Baltimore? I think I'm asking this question almost devil's advocate. I'm going to have my say, but I want to hear what you guys say. Keem, it looks like you're chomping at the bit.
I remember when you raised it, because you posted that in the group chat, and I was just like, I'm just so sick of that line of thinking. It almost feels ignorant at this point. I mean, it's to some degree, I think it is. But it comes from a woke perspective, but it's like so far that way that it's not really. You know, you're talking about profiting off of like black trauma and black pain. It's like, I don't know if people ever consider like the paychecks that are being paid in this situation. So I've said this before in terms of Tarantino and like the kind of like uproar about him like saying nigga in his films a lot, right? Difference between, I've said this before and I'll say it again, difference between Scorsese and Tarantino is Tarantino lets you know he says nigga in these scripts and he believes white people said it, and he's playing black people real money, making them millionaire, or not making, keeping them in the millionaire names and stuff like that. You think about a woman like Pam Grier, right? Pam Grier wasn't getting a lot of fucking movies when Jackie Brown came out. Like, Pam Grier is a fucking legend, but Tarantino wrote a movie, put her in the movie. And so when you're talking about like from a creative perspective, and then you got to start looking at who's behind the camera and who's sitting in the actress's chair, and you see these are actual people who need to make money and who do good. A lot of people of which who do good with their money, helping their families, doing charities and things like that. And so it's the same situation with We Own the City. It's the same situation with The Wire. The difference, like I said, is between like those people who like employ black people and put money in their pockets, because to me, personally, if I think you're a racist, you're probably not going to pay these people. Like, if you like a real racist, you might not put them in movies. Hi, Scorsese, how are you doing? You might not really put them in movies. You know what I'm saying? You might kind of stay away, stick to your wise guys. I'll stick to telling the white stories, those same old stories that I'll tell you those stories, but You want to do a slave movie? I don't think so. You want to do a movie about a black legendary boxer? No, I think about it, maybe. And so in terms of that, I think we need to also consider that when we start saying like profiting off of black pain and things like that, because to be honest, if you really wanted to go that route, it would be, I feel like it would be, it can be as messy as if it's a black person who's profiting off of that same pain too. It can be it'd be the same.
That's the nail in the coffin.
You could argue it's worse. So, but that's what I got.
James?
My only point is the intention behind whatever is being produced, right? So with this, like, it's telling a legit story that's recent, that's still happening everywhere, right? And I mean, like what Keem said in the beginning, like it's a certain type of person that would bring this up in this situation, who probably never even watched the series, who probably is not from Baltimore, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, certain shit like that is just bullshit. Outside of that, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I am for one tired of seeing slave movies.
I am. I for sure am. I hate them.
Like,
my least favorite aesthetic for films is slave and pre-1945 war.
Pre-1950. So no World War II for you.
I hear you, but all right, y'all watch way more movies than me, like as we just discussed fucking 30 minutes ago.
It's true,
right?
Yes.
How many pre-1945, I think you said, war movies do you have that depict a factual number of black people?
There are two different versions of Red Tails. I do know that. There's another movie, I forget the name of it, that came out recently.
Miracle of St. Anna, the Spike Lee war movie.
Yep.
Does Glory count?
Glory's 1800s.
So Glory counts.
Yeah.
Pretty much it. I'm still waiting for a Christmas Addicts movie. I think that'd be dope.
Yeah, that's it's fucking hilarious you said that. So with my family, right, growing up as a kid, for Christmas, if I wanted to get my Christmas presents early, they would quiz me on shit like that. So it was like, yeah, who's the first person to die in Civil War? First one I ever got right. Christmas Addicts.
American Revolution, but you're close.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, you get what I'm saying. Like,
I get that you didn't learn your fucking lesson.
Yeah, that's shit.
Okay. Like, at a certain point, it's like, all right, it's cool, fam. Like, y'all ain't got to do this.
But I think that at the end of the day, so the quote actually comes from this woman, Taya Graham. She's a reporter in Baltimore City. She actually does a podcast about police accountability. And she said, however, he is consistently talking about David Simon. However, he has consistently monetized the misery of my city and other black communities, like in Treme, for his profit. If you doubt me, read any commentary by the renowned actor, The Rock, Charles Dutton. Are you guys familiar with Charles S. Dutton?
Yes.
James?
No.
Are you typing him in? So Charles Dutton's a hell of an actor. If you ever seen the movie Rudy, you've seen Rudy.
Yeah.
You know the black janitor guy?
All right, hold on.
You got to give him Menace to Society.
I'm not giving him that because I don't think he's going to know it.
You've seen James. Come on.
Yes,
man.
I have.
Yeah, I don't think I can reference it clearly for him. So,
You're a hoe.
I don't know. Look, what he should be known for is what I think is the most underrated sitcom of all time, which is Rock in the 90s. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. He plays a Baltimore trash man. I'm actually going to send you guys a clip. It's like one of the best goddamn, like, which Fresh Prince tried to have like a very special episode. It was sort of some bullshit. Like, Carlton found caffeine pills. Like, it's bullshit. Rock actually did it and did it for real. Which is dope. He's just a hell of an actor. But if you guys, the first HBO series that David Simon was a part of with HBO was called The Corner.
Yes,
which is a miniseries.
It aired on BET at one point, and I watched it there.
Yep.
It's very good. Also, James Charles S. Dutton in Menace to Society, he's the father of Sharif, and he's the one who's like, the hunt is on. Great actor. He's also in Shame. Low Down Dirty Shame. I love him in that as well. He's in a lot of good shit. But yeah,
does a lot of play work, especially in the area. He's known to stay around DC, Baltimore. Actually went to jail for murder in Baltimore years back before he changed everything, or manslaughter, I think is what they charge him. Dutton was the one that directed all the episodes of The Corner, and there's a hell of an article if you haven't read it. That was published back in 2000 for the New York Times. About Charles S. Dutton and the way that they felt the racial dynamics of the set was when it was going down. That people have been trying to use as a hit piece against David Simon, but they clearly did not read the article because the last paragraph, Dutton clearly explains what he thinks about David Simon. And it's what I think about David Simon. He's earned it. His context is he's earned it. He doesn't come from an exploitative. I can't watch The Blind Side. I can't watch Green Book. I can't watch these movies that have to be looked upon as some white savior complex to tell our stories.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like I hate that shit. I'm not watching those movies. I can't get through them. But when you have a David Simon who you knew were in those rooms with families when they got the news that the worst had happened, when you know that he's been here in these streets developing and cultivating relationships, bringing actors from all sorts of walk of life. Idris Elba's not the level that Idris Elba's at if he doesn't have The Wire happen for him.
Mm-hmm.
Michael B. Jordan, his first role that we know anything about is Wallace on The Wire. You think about all these things that David Simon and Nina Nobles, the cast director, everything, what they've done has been about it. David David can walk these streets of Baltimore, and he has our respect because we know he's not doing it exploitively. And that's the thing that The Wire was so authentic. There are moments in The Wire where unless you know these fucking streets, you don't know shit about that. When I got my white friends that, dude, the Sunday morning truce, was that a thing? Fuck yeah, it was a thing. You don't do no dirt on fucking Sunday morning up here. Yeah, you fucking mind. There were certain rules and codes that you don't know unless you have plugged the fuck in. And when you see like the deacon in The Wire was actually little Melvin Williams, who ran this city. When you see in the fifth season, Omar's running buddy was the real Omar. Like the thing is, he's plugged in a way where there are a lot of white people that do it in an exploitive way. They don't understand or they have to look at it through the vision of them and make it more palatable for white audiences. And I don't think George Pelacanos or David Simon have ever done that as much as they've just told the story of the city. And the story of the city does happen to include a lot more black faces than white ones.
Yeah, that goes back to my point of intention.
But hell of a show, man. Yeah, it's the test is always good, and it's fucking dope. And look, I need another HBO. Just fucking let them do whatever they want to. They've never done anything. Have y'all seen Show Me a Hero?
I never finished it. I watched the first episode. I never finished it, but
Show Me a Hero. Oscar Isaac just fucking killing it.
What do y'all think about the political aspect of it?
What do you mean?
I think that's pretty much life.
Of We Own the City?
Yeah.
Yeah, historically, what they talk about as far as Martin O'Malley and his come up, and how a lot of people like to lionize Martin O'Malley because they think it's just Carcetti, and he wasn't. And what he did to just try to get into the state house and what that did politically was huge. The entire ordeal behind them trying to get the consent decree, knowing that Trump gets elected and Sessions is gonna ruin everything once he gets into the DOJ. It was all real shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wish more people plugged in politics and how it is that it impacts, especially on the local level. I think everybody feigns to care every 4 years when it comes to the presidential election, but we don't care nearly enough about the local elections to really. And
that's the part that we should care more about. A hell of a lot more.
I would say Baltimore is more plugged in than most, I think. Even though I think America's all, yeah. But like, do you know who our mayor in Baltimore is right now?
No.
Our mayor in Baltimore.
It's a young dude, right?
Very young dude. I'm actually
Black
pulling
dude,
up his age right now.
With dreads.
He's had weird hair. I think he's cut it left. He's 38 years old. 38-year-old black man named Brandon Scott is the mayor here in this town. And I think what was really telling was you see at the end of the episode where they're doing the updates on everybody. That person went to jail. That person went to jail. That person did this.
And it was like the new dude's like, yeah, I'm taking over. And it was like, yeah, he resigned after 6 months.
Baltimore is a motherfucker. Yeah. I'd say there's no town like this town. I've seen everything happen here. And I still, you know what? I still feel pretty safe in this city. I'm not gonna lie. Feels like home.
I think you're I don't know, because I feel the same way in Macon. And Macon's like was at one point like on FBI's like top 25 most dangerous cities.
And like 25.
And I was like, bro, like, you know, it's weird that I feel like I can walk around and through the Macon hoods where a lot of these deaths are happening. Like, I feel like, and I'll be fine. Like, people know, like, oh, okay, nah, leave him alone. Okay, like, it's like, and I ain't nobody special or nothing like that. I'm just saying, that's just weird. Like, you know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
It's a little different here. It ain't quite that.
Yeah, nah, I ain't walking nowhere.
Yeah, it ain't quite like that.
You guys are worse.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying I'm cool walking through it. I feel like I know how to navigate, and like there's a sense that you develop here, especially when you're pumping gas. It's probably where it happens more than anything. When you're pumping gas at the gas station, especially at night, you get a sixth sense. Like you start understanding, yo, the block's too quiet. Mm-hmm. The block's a little too quiet right now.
Do I need to get gas right now?
Oh, this tons of times I've like, yep, $5 is good enough now. Put that shit and get the fuck in the car.
And they brought that up in Atlanta that one time.
There's a certain element of the city where you have to kind of. And David's right. After the series, Baltimore's is more dangerous than it ever has been right now, and a lot of that's because of what's happened to the police department and the basically fabric of the community. The police used to mean something. I'm not one of those people who think the police never meant anything. They used to mean something. And we've gotten so far away from it. And I do believe, like David Simon believes, it's the war on drugs that really ruined it. They're now an occupying force. They're not here to help. Cops used to stand for constable on patrol.
Man,
motherfuckers don't walk a beat no more.
You remember before they put the lights on the cop cars? Before they used I was listening to somebody discuss this. They were like, yeah, over in Europe, like the cops, like all their shit is like reflective. You can see everything. It's like, hey, we are here just to help. Here, it's more so like we're here to catch you doing some shit.
You know what's so crazy is that the city's like under surveillance too. You drive down like North Avenue, there are blue flashing lights at every light post. There's a camera. Like there's cameras all over the fucking town. We also have a surveillance plane that used to fly overhead.
Yeah,
that the Republicans actually paid for, but then the city was like, we don't want the Republican. Yeah. You know, I don't even gonna say that. This fucking city's crazy.
That's America.
It's the Democrat. Like, yeah, we want a surveillance plane. We want the fucking city to be safe. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's just. It
reminds me of a Daylight Bar.
This town, look, I still say everybody spend more time in Baltimore. It's a great place, depending on what block you're on it.
And what time.
When my mom walks to the car, she has to get up at 5 a.m. My dad is sitting in the window sill with a gun in his hand. Mm-hmm. I'm not. This ain't no joke.
Yeah.
All right, but we own the city. Highly recommend it. It was fucking awesome. It was dope.
John I wanted to do something political next.
Huh?
I wanted to do something political, like to highlight that.
I don't think I think he needs to stick to the city. You know what he needs to do? This to me would be it. And I'm waiting for this show because nobody's ever done it right. Why aren't we? The closest we got was the Newsroom with Jeff Bridges. There needs to be a newspaper show. Like what season of 5 of The Wire did, but just bring it the full out. Why don't we have a local desk or an action desk TV show about life of the paper? I don't understand why we don't have that show. That to me would be able to tell the story of the city probably better than anything. That to me was the 5th season of The Wire. Like that's the one thing I wanted to see more of. Less of the McNulty serial killer shit. God damn, I hate that storyline. But Clark Johnson being there in that newsroom, and what it is I want to see that, and I think that would be the perfect platform, especially for a guy like David Simon who spent so much time at the Sun being a reporter. That to me is the series. That's the series. I need a Pelacanos detective show, but more like Homicide: Life of the Street, not that bullshit Law and Order, which I can't watch anymore because The Wire ruined it. How am I going to see the crime? Y'all catch the motherfucker, and I get the entire court case all in a 40-minute episode? Fuck out of here. That shit ain't real.
And yeah.
I completely agree with that. I think that would be dope. The newsroom wasn't as deep as that in terms of just like as intimate as one city.
The best episode was the first episode of the newsroom, and that's because of the fucking speech in the first 5 minutes of the goddamn episode.
Fucking great speech. But yeah, so I completely agree. I think we all can agree that we own this city.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I appreciate all you guys for watching, and I'm about to go watch Golden State get this win because they're starting Otto Porter tonight and not Kevon Looney.
Who said
Warriors? Did y'all watch Charm City Kings?
Yes, did.
I did. It's a good movie.
It's good.
Mm-hmm. It's a good movie. I'll be rewatching it too because I think it's a good coming of age story until you get to the sad part.
And Meek did a better job than I thought he would.
He did.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I was really there was because I'm in Baltimore, so
now I gotta watch it.
So I'm in Baltimore, so all the 12 o'clock boys, big part of the city, huge part of the city. It's annoying as shit sometimes. I ain't gonna lie. The motherfuckers just take over. Like you'll sit at one traffic like 5 fucking times. These motherfuckers just want to drive back and forth. You're like, God damn, just stop. But it was a huge deal for there. Charm City Kings is a huge deal for this city. And what that means and what the bike culture is here in this town. It was great, man. I really thoroughly appreciated that fucking movie. I forget the director, but I'm looking out for
Angel Manuel Soto.
Yeah, that's
Puerto Rican.
There in Ronaldo Marcus Green, there are a lot of some really, really interesting directors, filmmakers of color that are popping up.
Yeah.
All right, Annette.
All right. Yep.
All right. It's Wayne Jenkins Day, bitch.
Happy Wayne Jenkins Day.